Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Nerd Sanctuary. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the safety of your nerddom. And remember, please hit that like button and subscribe. Hey, have you ever wondered why the same couple of people continuously win at your pre release? Well, guess what? I've got the inside track, and I'm going to give you my 3 tips to take down your pre release. Let's do this thing. All right, tip number 1 is pretty easy. It's just preparation. We got to put some time and effort into this thing. So how do we do that? Well, we're going to look at the spoilers a few days before our pre-release. All right, guys, I get it. It's really daunting looking at all these cards trying to figure out what's going on. But I've got a great trick for you. We're going to start at the multicolored cards. And that's because that's where we figure out exactly what each deck is supposed to do. So let's just do it right here in front of you. All right, we're going to need a multicolor. There they are. Boom. All right. So multicolored cards are extremely helpful to start with because they often bring a deck together for the creators of the game. That's where they're like, this is what you should be doing in these colors, right? In this deck archetype. So that's where we're going to start. And it's usually in the uncommons. In the case of Kaldeim, it's actually 2 uncommons per breakdown per deck. Right? So there is an uncommon saga and an uncommon legendary creature in Kaldeim for each deck type. For example, here's your legendary uncommon card from blue and red, your Is It card, and it's going to give us an idea of what the deck is supposed to do. Giants and Wizards, says it right there. If we keep going, we can see and figure out exactly, right, what it's supposed to do. Now, this is a rare, but you'll get the idea as we really push into all of these uncommon sagas and legendary creatures. Second spell, you'll see green-black. It's for elves. Trying to skip over the rares here so we don't do that. There we go. Look at that. This one has giants on it for red-blue. Okay, that's cool. Keep going. We're just going to do a nice cursory glance at these, just trying to figure out what each one of these decks is supposed to do. Enchanted or equipped creatures in red-white. Interesting. That's our legendary creature. Now, I know I keep saying legendary creatures, but that's for Kaldeim only, unfortunately, at least for now. But it's always fairly easy to figure out exactly what Wizards wants you to do in each color pair. Hey, look at that. That one wasn't very hard. Cool. So green-blue, probably snow, right? Keep moving on. Foretell for white-blue. Interesting. Okay. Interesting. Flyers, maybe? Now, this video isn't specifically for Kaldeim, but it does work with every set, as far as I know, that is designed to be draftable. Oh, hey, look. There's your legendary creature bird from Kaldeim, and it works with Foretell. Look at that. So that's exactly what they want you to do. Cast spells from anywhere, and Foretell is how you're going to do it. So it's a pretty cool way to figure out how to start looking at all these cards. Here's another trick for you. When I'm taking a look at all these things, I usually write it down. I have my trusty magic notebook right here, and I write down exactly what each thing is supposed to do as I'm going through it. Not card specific, but deck specific. Once we have a pretty good idea of what each deck's supposed to do, then we're going to start looking at each card, trying to figure out exactly how it fits into the deck it's supposed to go into, and if I think it's worth playing or not. Now that kind of leads me to my next tip number 2, which is card evaluation. Now, evaluating a card in Magic the Gathering is probably one of the most difficult things that you can do. It's really hard because it has to do with the set, the time period you're playing, and whether you're talking about standard, modern, legacy, blah, 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 blah. All kinds of things play into it. Now, I'm making it really complicated because we're actually just talking about your pre-release. So we're going to focus on that. And what I use for this is called bread. BRED is an acronym that stands for Bombs, Removal, Evasion, Aggro, and Duds. So I've used this card evaluating acronym for a very long time, and it's pretty accurate and helps me figure out exactly where I need to be, at least at the beginning of each format. As the set moves on and people figure out fun and cool things to do, it usually changes, but we can at least have a good groundwork going into reading each card to see exactly how good it is. So let's talk about bombs. Bombs are the cards that are extremely difficult to deal with, win you the game quickly, or are just kind of overpowered. Here are some cards that might help you figure out what a bomb might look like in the upcoming set for you. All right, next is removal. This one's pretty easy. If it kills a creature, you probably want it in your deck. There is definitely a range of good and bad removal, so you really want to look for that unconditional murder type effect, destroy target creature, or make it not block, make it not attack. These kinds of effects really help your game progress or slow down your opponent. Next is evasion, and it's pretty simple. If the card can get past your opponent's blockers, it's evasive. That also includes like uncounterable spells or something like that, but mostly it's hard to block creatures. This is important because it really gives your deck reach or the ability to end the game without your opponent being able to stop you. Next is aggro. These cards are usually pretty cheap and pretty fast. If your deck's trying to end the game before your opponent gets going, these are the type of cards you're going to want in your deck. And lastly is duds. Stay away from these cards. These cards don't do a whole lot, or they're just too expensive. Things that just don't fit in limited environments. Often, cards are just there for constructed purposes and don't do anything. Don't put them in your deck. So that was a really quick and kind of simple explanation of a very complicated thing, but it should give you groundwork for working through each type of card and figuring out whether or not it should be in your deck or maybe needs to get out of there, just so you might be able to fit that last piece of removal or this card has evasion kind of thing. It's never easy, but at least this might help. So my last tip and kind of trick is pretty simple. It's practice. Yes, you can do a few sealeds before you go to your pre-release. I usually use a sealed simulator. I have one right here. They just allow you to look at what you might have in a sealed pool and kind of put it together. Figure out what you end up cutting, which cards are maybe not as good or whatever don't fit in your curve. Gives you a real handle on what might be played against you and what you might be looking for without actually playing the cards yet. As you play the cards, you'll find that things definitely change, but this will at least get you a good start. I hope it helps. Thanks for watching, and remember to stay safe out there.